Introducing Advantech X Factor, a new premium subflooring with a built-in barrier for job site durability with Advantech brand's signature strength and stiffness. So whatever the expectation, go beyond with Advantech X Factor.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Huber booth here at IBS. They've agreed to let the UnBuild It podcast do a bit of a IBS debrief. So I'm Peter Yost. I'm with Building Right. I'm a building science guy and building enclosure consultant from Durham, New Hampshire. And let's go to the middle because this is not our supreme leader, Jake Bruton. Who are you, by the way?
My name is Randy Williams. I'm Northern Build Pro on Instagram. I think the only reason I'm here is because I took second place yesterday in the Huber trivia.
You beat Jake.
I beat Jake. I just barely beat Steve.
Ooh.
And I think this is my punishment.
Well, I think we just demoted Jake. Actually, Jake has laryngitis.
Jake who?
Well, it's actually this is the best Jake I've ever known because he just doesn't say anything. How about you?
Couldn't agree more.
Who are you?
In this life?
Yeah, pretty much.
Boy, if that isn't a loaded question. So, Steve Basic Architect from Boston.
So what we thought we'd do is pick some things that we thought were kind of cool from the last couple of days here at the IBS event. So I think I'll go first.
Why don't you go first?
Well, my microphone is, I can't, should I put it inside my mouth? Yeah, so number one, not necessarily in order of importance, but there's a technology for windows called thin glass triples. And essentially it means that you have 3 panes of glass and 2 gas pockets, but the middle one is a really thin layer of glass, 7 millimeters, and allows you to make a insulated glazing unit the standard width, but you get close to the performance of a regular triple pane. And PGT Technologies, which is right around the corner here, is one of the manufacturers of insulated glazing units that is manufacturing them now. So it's pretty cool technology, and it's going to have a big impact on the energy performance of U.S. windows. Steve and I were actually at that booth together.
Yes, you wore out all 3 techs successfully, which it didn't surprise me.
Is that a good thing? Or?
No, it didn't surprise me. Actually, it took you a lot longer than I thought it would to wear them out. And what I mean by wear them out, meaning, Pete's questions just exponentially surpassed their thinking.
Uh-oh.
No, it was good. I like watching people get all squirmy because they can't get the answer.
So why use that thin glass? Why change that technology?
Yeah.
Wow, you ask better questions than Jake does.
Yeah. So first of all, we can get performance thermal similar to what we get with triple pane usual, which is frankly really heavy. So one of the things is we get a lighter weight window with similar performance. This technology actually was patented in the early 1990s, but we didn't have glass and big sheets that was that thin until we had flat screen TVs and cell phones. So it took a while for the materials to catch up with the patented idea. But it means that you can have a lighter weight triple pane window and also manufacture it in the same spacing as a typical dual pane insulated glazing unit.
Okay, so now any window manufacturer can get this glass. It'll fit in their existing product line. That's the purpose. That's
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so PGT Technologies is putting it in their own window frame project but they're also making it available to other window manufacturers.
Very cool product.
I didn't ask, but the PGT, is that PG Glass and it's PG Technologies or?
No, because PPG is one of the big,
PPG, that's
one of the
right.
big
Okay.
glazing manufacturers.
Yeah.
I honestly do not know what PGT stands for. We could say like pretty good thin glass triples, maybe.
Okay.
That was a joke, but
Okay.
It was a bad
where's
one.
Danko? He's probably laughing. Okay, so my friend Jake Randy.
Jake Randy.
I've been spending most of my time in the South Hall, and I got to go by.
Is it warmer there? Is that why?
Little, actually, it was. It was really hot here yesterday, with all those people that were hanging out in this.
The Huber booth for the social awards was packed.
Yes, very, very busy, very, very warm.
And this comes from an antisocial guy.
I was just gonna say it, but you beat me to it.
So in the South Hall, that's where the SIGA is located, and they've got a new corner tape for windows for the water management on the window sill that's preformed around the corner. So it simplifies the installation. It's
So as opposed to the stretch tape with Huber, which you mold into 3 planes, this is a corner
preformed.
semi-rigid or
It is, yes.
interesting.
Yep. And of course, SIGA is known for their very aggressive tapes. They're very, very durable, very well sealing. I thought that was pretty cool that you can get a product like that now. I've seen the plastic corners that have been made for years, but this is the first tape one that I've run into.
There's that Russian dude, what was his name, that made the,
Oh yeah,
it was like Milusk,
from Building Science Summer Camp.
Yeah, like he had that whole sill. It was a drainable, hard plastic pan.
Right.
I forget.
The really popular one was Weather Out, which was the plastic one, but this guy had his own system. I don't remember the name of it.
Minsk or something.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was, didn't Anderson Windows for a while? You could purchase those or have them shipped with your windows. They had pre-manufactured plastic corners for flashing.
I don't remember that, but that'd be pretty cool for. Yeah, I've always thought the flashing technology should be hooking up with window manufacturers in a more consistent way.
Yeah, I never agreed with that position, but that's okay.
I know.
But it's one of our paths that veer in different directions.
So that technology, is the corner element separate from the tape, or is it a type of tape, or?
It appeared to be, I think it was a Ventrum, I believe.
Oh, it's the Ventrum.
I don't know, this is your story.
Okay. I wasn't in Switzerland, so I didn't see the launch of the product, but here it looked like it was a Ventrum, if I remember right, it was a Ventrum tape.
Yeah.
And it was just the corner, so you had to address the rest of the sill, and then up the sill if you wanted that air sealing component as well, where you're taping the whole window opening.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just want to say that it's dear to my heart that Huber is such a technical company that their drinks for doilies are made out of their weather-resistant barrier materials. Like that makes me really happy. I didn't mean to slow you down or offend you.
No, I'm just trying to understand why that could make you possibly happy.
It's double duty of a technology.
Oh, double duty. I had a professor that said if you can get one thing to do 2 things, you've halved the cost. Like that, don't you?
That's higher math, but
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Hey, you ever hear of Perry's Law?
Perry's Law?
Yeah, I think it's Perry's Law. I'm going out on a way tangent. I was just watching this clip earlier in the week, and it was something like 10% or less than 10% of any given say workforce or amount does 50% of the workload associated with that. So if you owned 100 companies, what it's saying is 10 of your companies are going to do 50% of your profit and such. Or if you had 100 employees, 10 of them are going to do 50% of the work. The other 90% are slackers. But it's a proven statistic, and it's called, I think it's Perry's Law.
So
the
what
guy
is
says
it?
you can apply it to anything.
What does it mean for those of us that are sole proprietors? Like 10% of us does all the work?
Yeah.
Okay, because 90% of my brain is asleep all the time.
You know, I think it makes it a personal mission to like just blow up any idea I have.
I'm sorry, but I didn't mean it that way. But come on, give us a.
Well, first of all, you both suck, because I was going to talk about thin glass triple glazed windows, and then I said, okay, well, since Peter took that, I'll just, I'll make mention of Sega being here. Oh, okay, thanks, Randy. But actually, what I think is pretty cool is it's not the fact that Sega is what they're showing, it's the fact that Sega has chosen to talk about what Sega does at the Builder Show. Because like the code, I think the Builder Show is catching on that we can't avoid this building science monster anymore. We have to embrace it. We have to have companies that are coming. We're going to have to start having classes that talk about air leakage. We're going to have companies that have air sealing technologies like Sashco and Sega. And, there's just no way around that anymore, which I think is really cool, because it's like in our time, and I don't know, do you remember the first show you went to?
2018.
Okay. All right. But I mean, I've probably been coming here for 25 years. When Mike Gurton actually had like brown hair. But that's a reference some of you might get. But the idea that it's not so much about like just framing a house or framing it fast or kind of efficiency, but the idea of what are we building is now starting to come into question.
I've been kind of impressed that when I go to booths and ask technical questions, it either is taking me a lot less time to get to the technical people, or the sales rep that I'm talking to has some chops. Mm-hmm. And I think that's new. I've been coming to IBS since 1993.
I think your photo gets circulated amongst all the exhibitors like a mug shot. And it's like, if you see this guy approaching, run. Hey, that's Peter Yost. He's in our booth. Get out of here. Time for lunch.
Head for the hills.
Jimmy, they get the new guy. Jimmy. This guy over there, Peter, he's a good guy. Go help him out.
So is all this just forestalling the fact that you didn't find anything interesting to tell us about?
Well, I thought the triple glaze class was really cool. I thought the fact that Sega's here with their stuff is pretty darn cool. There is a company on the other side. I don't know if you saw them. If you haven't, they're right over there by Sashco. It's called Modern Mills. So remember years ago when who's the SIPS guy that we knew?
Dave Gothier.
Dave Gothier. So he was trying to take rice hulls, and reconstitute them into like a perfect block.
Okay.
All right, because he's the one that told me, and I don't know if it still holds true, but rice hulls are like the number one like waste product in the world. Like we have so much of it that has absolutely no recyclable purpose, and it's just this giant waste product. And so he was trying to figure out a way to put it to work. Well, this company called Modern Mills has taken the rice hulls and they create siding out of it.
Yeah.
Down in Mississippi. And I've had the guys at two of our jobs, and both jobs I think we're going to have it. One we're going to do the whole house in, which I commend the client because it's a little bit of a risk because stuff hasn't been out there. But supposedly it doesn't move like PVC. It's a little more like wood than say boral or cement board. So it's kind of moving closer to real wood without all the faults of real wood.
And I don't think I'm spilling any beans here, but maybe I won't get invited back next year. But Huber does quite a bit of research into structural materials that are not just OSB or wood-based, because they're a big materials company as well as a manufacturer.
Well, I mean, if it costs, let's just say it costs to make a piece of OSB, if it costs $10 to work a tree to get it to oriented strands, and you could take something like rice hulls, grind them up, reconstitute it, turn it into a panel, and you could do that for $8. Certainly, it's in their best interest to look at options.
Absolutely.
Was that cladding? Was that just lap, or was it a?
They can cut it into anything. They have. I mean, they're new kids on the block. So, you like that reference to your favorite music group?
Yeah. Thank you.
I thought you'd like that. He's got the pillow with like the band on it, and it says "New Kids on the
Big
Block."
T-shirt. Yeah.
Big T-shirt.
Yeah.
But because of their infancy, you know, they have all the standard sizes. You can get nice big sheets. I think it's like 12-foot sheets for 4 foot wide. But they will also, you can get it milled into like nickel gap lap joints. They have maybe a half dozen different joining techniques, but then you can also, they said, listen, we can send it out to some places. And, you know, if you're cutting a whole house, like if you're cutting, I don't know, 100 board feet or 200 board feet, yeah, it's probably going to be a crazy price. But if you're cutting thousands of board feet,
Sure.
right? And the same with pre-finishing it. They have some places up in Massachusetts out in like the Springfield area, which I was surprised to hear, but he said we ship a lot of stuff up to them and they pre-finish it and send it out to the job site from there.
Cool.
And guys like it. And I mean, the stuff is pretty gorgeous. From 10 feet away, you're hard pressed to like, that's not wood.
Yeah.
I had one more. I stopped by this over in the corner here on the way out. There's a company called Longboard, which was really cool. And I've seen it. I was down in Alabama talking with the AIA down there, and I saw similar things. A lot of siding companies are moving towards steel sidings that look like lap siding, but they have this wood grain finish. Like, it's hard to tell that this isn't cedar boards in that soffit, and it's a metal soffit.
So not aluminum, but steel.
Well, I'm sorry. Some of them were steel. This one was Longboard was aluminum.
Oh, it was. Okay.
And the thing that you two will really nerd out about, not only do they have the siding, their attachment system. They have an attachment system that can go anywhere from, say, about 1.5 inches to something like 14 inches. So you can do their passive house level 2 certified or something that he said, but like you could put 10 inches of rock wool on the outside of this building, and they have a bracket that goes out. Are you familiar with the EOT system?
No.
It's basically a same kind of outrigger type system, but they have it. I was really intrigued, and it's a 2-way system, so you can run the rain screen vertically, or you can put their slats horizontally because they're all perforated.
Nice.
That's cool. They're accommodating different exterior continuous insulation in their system.
Yeah.
Cool. Mostly a commercial, or is that they're trying
Well,
to
they
get
do sell to commercial, but they have a bunch of residential applications.
Okay.
And it's exterior and interior.
Yeah.
So it's all pre-finished aluminum. So
nice.
So
it's
sorry.
No, that's okay. Because as I'm talking about it, I'm remembering all the facts. Take a guess. If I place an order, take a guess how long it takes for them to put the order on the loading dock. Any size order, he told me.
Well, you would think it would be 8 weeks.
Yeah.
3 to 6 days.
Wow.
He said, that order comes in 3 to 6 business days, your order leaves our loading dock.
It's pretty impressive.
I was like, wow. And colors, unlimited colors. If it has a wooden grain feature to it, those are restricted to a number of the ones they have. But he said, if you pick a solid color, just give me a paint swatch, we'll match it.
Wow. Very cool. So since Huber makes a pretty big deal out of innovation, Jake and I were over at the West Hall, and we walked by a forklift company called CombiLift. And we're looking at the forklifts, and the innovation is that the forks and the driver are perpendicular to the wheels of the forklift. So that means you can go down narrow aisles and you don't have to spin to turn in, and the aisle can be the width of the forklift because the driver is, and the forks are perpendicular. I didn't think you could make a new forklift, but all they did was turn everything 90 degrees, and that's what an incredible innovation.
So I bet you didn't know, I'm a certified forklift driver. I don't think it's still there, but
can you do parallel parking with that?
we used to like drift and stuff in the warehouse with it.
Okay.
They're a lot of fun to drive because it's an extremely tight radius. So
I didn't know we had this in common. I drove a forklift up in the salmon.
yeah, for fishing.
For fishing,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
Awesome.
you're an odd man out.
I am. Well, no, I owned a rough terrain forklift, one of the telehandlers.
Whoa, wait a minute. We thought we were good driving
No,
them. You
Mister, I own a rough terrain forklift. Yeah, it was 4-wheel drive, 350 Holly double pumper quad.
And we could
Quad barrel.
crab walk that as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yep. Well, I guess what I want to talk about next is the new release of Huber's new product, that zip system rain screen.
The doilies?
The doilies, yes. Yep. They were both. You know what I heard really interesting about this? You can set it down, your scraps, you set it down by the front door, and when you walk in, you can wipe your feet on these. Get
This is so cool because there's so much zip tape that is bonded like car bumpers, and it gets used all over the
So
place.
now we're making doormats.
Now we're making doormats out of.
Hey, welcome to my
Rain
humble
screen.
abode. Yeah, that's my rain screen doormat.
Yeah, but it's just a 3D matrix with a backing on it. I think the biggest application for this would be in adhered stone or a brick application on the side of a house.
It's interesting. It'll work with any cladding, but particularly works well with cementitious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I called it a plastic drizzle. Danko had a better name for it, tangled mesh or something, and tangled plastic.
We should say that not everybody knows it's Danko Davidovic, who is the really technical PhD guy.
Yeah, he's the brains behind Huber.
Yeah, and
Of the
the guy that
science.
happened to come in first yesterday at the.
Came in first and plays a mean guitar as well.
But you know what? Like I told Charlie, if Danko didn't come in first, he should get fired. Right?
Or Danko's being roasted and he's probably not even here. Or he's hiding.
But he should come in first. Like, that's what he gets paid to do.
Well, he came in first because I wrote most of the question and I sent the
Yeah,
question.
you probably consulted with him to get some of the answers. So yeah, see, so I know it was rigged.
Danko's my adult supervision on all this stuff. All right, what else you got, buddy?
No, so the cool thing about this is we have this series with the Build Show called Build Show Build Boston. We're actually putting this on the house as our rain screen system.
And when is that going to happen? Schedule-wise?
Probably in about 5-6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be relatively soon. This stuff is, I believe, coming out in the spring, I think is what they said, spring or early summer.
Yep.
But we're going to roll it out, shoot some video of it, and get people introduced to it.
What cladding are you doing?
We have a bunch of that Modern Mills Rice Hall stuff we're going to put on there.
It's that project. Okay.
We're
Seriously? Really?
yeah, we're going to put that on that house. Some Allura is going on there.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly those are the two main products. The Allura, we're going to do a mixture of their lap siding and something else.
Okay.
So, but
So I got my last one, but I don't know. Do you have one you want to
no,
do?
go ahead. Shoot, I'll just damage you like you do.
So I've done a lot of work with aero barrier. That's the technology where you use a blower door to pressurize an atomized
When
ceiling.
you say a lot of work, do you mean like upfront work, like helping them develop what they're going to do, or like you're out there physically like blowing the stuff in houses with them? You just did a lot of it.
I could tell you, but I'd have to shoot you.
Okay.
And
I
Jake
got a
told me-
hunch on which one it is. I really don't care about Jake's opinion. He's not here. We got Randy Jake.
Well, anyway, so it's a really cool technology to do comprehensive air sealing on a structure. But I've always told them, look, it's a really important technology for existing buildings. And they're like, wait a minute, we're having so much trouble keeping up with the new construction market with our technology. We'll get to existing. But at the show this week, I was told that they are going to start some beta testing of applying the sealant in vented attics, where they put the spray head up there to atomize that space, and then they depressurize the house, which means the sealant gets pulled out of the air in the attic down into all the places where there's leaks in the ceiling plate.
Okay.
So all you got to do if you have fiberglass bats or loose fills, you got to move that insulation out of the way or get rid of it.
See, that's a non-builder talking. But all you gotta do is just go up in that 5 and 12 roof
No,
and
that's
pull
not fair.
all the bats out of the way. That's all you gotta do.
That's not fair because we're
That
pretty
is
sure they're
fair.
going to protest my house where there's loose blown fiberglass, and I'm the one that's going to be up there with the leaf blower moving all that crap over the garage so we can air seal our house.
Fun.
So unless you want to come up and help me in my attic,
That ain't happening.
that's not going to happen.
Me in small spaces is not a recipe for success.
So will that, let's say you had ductwork, that's, if you actually depressurize that ductwork as well, I would imagine that would also,
Well, that's really funny because AeroSeal, which was the original company, was the sealing system for ducts.
right,
But it's where you pressurize the duct and it seals from the inside.
Yep.
What you're saying is that if the ducts were open and you're depressurizing the house, if you depressurize the ducts, you could seal them from the outside in the attic.
well, you most likely, well. you
They're gonna have to
probably-
hire you because you're really good at this stuff.
Is everybody having as much fun as I am with these two guys?
I'm here for you, brother. I mean, I don't know what to say.
You know, I learned something the other day, so it's totally off topic here, but I'm gonna challenge both of you because I'm not quite sure, Randy might know, I'm not quite sure you would know the answer to this.
Cool.
So metal gauge, as the number increases, the thickness decreases. So it's counterintuitive, right? Because you would think 20 gauge is stronger than 16 gauge, but it isn't. Why is that? Where did the gauge system come from?
So what about that could go down as it would go up as it got thinner? It can't be the thickness, right?
Right.
The gauge.
And I
So
only
where's
learned this
the
because
gauge
I had to shoot a video and they were talking all about gauge. So I was like, I wonder where this gauge system, because I didn't know. So I Googled it.
So the thinner the metal, the higher the gauge. And why is that?
Yes.
Damn.
See, just for the record, right here, you saw it live, but we also recorded it. Steve stumped Mr. I Won Trivia yesterday and the Peter Yost.
Darn.
He's gonna drop his mic now, he's just gonna drop it and walk away.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I should have just dropped the mic and not gave you the answer and called that the end of the podcast.
I am on the edge of my seat.
All right. The gauge system was measured in parts of an inch. So 16 gauge is 1/16 of an inch. 20 gauge is 1/20th of an inch.
So it's the fraction.
It is the fraction.
Of course.
So as the number increases, the thickness
The denominator
decreases.
is getting bigger. Oh, we should have gotten that.
You shoulda.
It's a math question.
It is.
These guys aren't going to sleep for a week, and I'm pretty happy about it.
Well, I'd like the crowd to gauge just how good that was, Steve.
Ouch.
And I'm looking at Jake because there goes my pun for the podcast.
Oh, man.
So any other things stand out before we...
I just want, I was at the Satchco booth yesterday and they had a really cool display. This kind of this.
You're really stretching this podcast.
I know.
Oh, nice.
I am.
Nice.
They had this kids Jeep that you ride in, just a little electric, the hard little wheels on it. And they took one of their workers and they had about a 4-foot piece of Lexel, long. They had somebody hanging onto that.
So Lexel is a really high performance sealer.
It is.
That's actually...
It is. Yep.
Not that I want to burst your bubble.
Oh.
Look at that. That's Steve in there. Steve is now.
I was riding in the little car.
Yeah, I see that.
Because there was a 153 pound limit. So I just made it under the weight limit,
Okay.
and I squeeze down into the little car.
So is your weight like the denominator thing? The higher it gets, the less you weigh?
Yeah, it's too early to do that math.
So who got hurt when that thing finally did snap?
It snapped away from me and towards the car. I ended up, we probably got it to about 16 feet. And I ended up with a 1-inch piece and 16 feet.
So you basically did it until it snapped, basically?
Yeah, I wrapped it around my finger. So
It'd be easy to do that for fishing line, because you could have a really small reel, right?
Yeah.
Just toss it out, let it stretch. It can't break, right?
Right.
Wow, that's a fishing tail.
And I think as the humor degrades, it's about time to wrap up the UnBuild podcast from the Huber booth here at IBS in Las Vegas. And we'll see you all next time. Many, many thanks to Huber for sponsoring the UnBuild podcast.
Hey,
And
many
letting us,
thanks to Randy, Jake.
we can't
for joining
thank
us.
Randy enough.
He jumped right in when Jake said, no, I think I have a little hurty throat. So
I think we're going to have to send him a wingnut hat for being on the podcast.
I wouldn't consider that.
I'm going to give him yours.
Yeah, please, please, and if I can I defer all future wingnut hats to him also?
Steve's relinquishing his thinking cap. And with that, we'll see you next time.